All right, in this exercise, we are dividing imaginary numbers. What we have on the denominator is 4 plus 8i. On the top, minus 4 minus 8i. Now what we want to do is eliminate imaginary numbers from the denominator in order to simplify this expression. One of the best ways to do that is to multiply top and bottom by the exact conjugate of this denominator here. We have 4 plus 8i, so the conjugate, which is the exact opposite, is actually 4 minus 8i. So we've got 4 plus 8i, 4 minus 8i. So let's do it to the top also, 4 minus 8i. Now all we have to do is FOIL it. The bottom is a difference of two squares, so we can square each one so we don't have to write the whole FOIL thing. And the top is kind of a difference of two squares, but I'm going to FOIL the top just to make sure. So let's put some brackets here. Bracket, 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 bracket. So let's FOIL it. So we've got negative 4 times positive 4, and that's going to give us negative 16. Let me just put a line there. Negative times a positive is a negative, negative 16. All right, let's FOIL now. Let's go negative 4 times negative 8. That's a negative and a negative. That's a positive. 4 times 8 is positive 32. So that's plus 32. 32 what? Well, it's 32i. There's an I there. So let's put an I there. Now, we've got negative 8 times positive 4. That's going to be negative 32 this time, the exact opposite. Negative 32i. And finally, negative and a negative, 8 eighths is 64i squared. So that's a plus 64i squared. All right, let's work down below. This is a difference of two squares. We've got 4 plus 8i, 4 minus 8i. That's the conjugate of that, which means all we have to do is square this guy and square this guy and subtract them. So 4 squared down below. So that'll be 4 all squared. Take away 8i all squared. 8i all squared. It's a difference of two squares, which equals. Let's go to the bottom first. 4 squared is 16. 16 minus 8 squared is 64. And that becomes 64i squared. Let's go to the top. We have similar terms. We can combine them. They're both imaginary, but they're all opposite, so they may cancel. So we've got plus 32i minus 32i. They cancel, they disappear, so they cancel each other. So what we're left is minus 16. Drag and drop it down there. And we got plus 64i. Now, is that I squared? Let's have a look here. 8i times 8i, I times I. Yep, it's squared. I didn't write the squared. 8i times 8i is 64i squared. 64i squared positive. So that's 64 times I squared. Now, we know that I squared represents negative 1. So we can replace that with a negative 1. Replace that with a negative 1 also. So let me just draw a line over here. So on the top, we have minus 16 plus 64 times negative 1. And down below, we have positive 16 minus 64 times, again, negative 1. So what's that going to equal? So we're going to take this guy up here. I'm going to rewrite it. We've got negative 16 up here, negative 16. Now, negative and a positive is a negative. Negative 1 times 64 is minus 64. All over, down below, we got, that's a 1 here. What did I do? I forgot to put the 1. It's minus 1. Back to this, 16, positive 16. We got minus and a minus, that's going to be a plus. 64 times 1 is 64. So we have plus 64. So going forward, what's this going to be? Minus 16 minus 64, that's going to give us minus what? 16 and 64, 80. That's minus 80 on the top. And down below, 16 plus 64 is positive 80. Negative divided by a positive is a negative, so that equals negative 80 divided by 80, that's just 1. So the answer is negative 1.